Hi everyone, and welcome to Module 7. Up to now, we've built smart contracts, and we've secured them, and we've tested them. But there's something that separates a single isolated contract from an entire ecosystem. That is standards. In this module, you're going to understand how standards, particularly ERC20 and ERC721, transformed Ethereum from isolated experiments into a connected, composable ecosystem. By the end, you'll understand why every serious token on Ethereum follows the same interface and why that matters profoundly. Let's explore standards. So, what is an ERC? Let me start with a real world analogy. Imagine the pre USB world. Every manufacturer, Apple, Dell, Sony, Panasonic, they created their own charging connector. Apple's connector was different from Dell's. Dell's was different from Sony's. What was the result? Chaos. No interoperability, a drawer full of charges, and every device required its own cable. Then USB arrived. A standard. Every manufacturer agreed. We will use the same connector. Suddenly, one cable worked with every device. Instant ecosystem. Plug and play. Universal. ERC stands for Ethereum Request for Comments. It's a standard proposal, a way for developers to agree on interfaces and behaviors for smart contracts. Think of it as the USB standard for Ethereum. An ERC defines what functions a contract must implement, what behavior those functions must have, what events must be emitted, and how contracts must interoperate. If a contract follows the standard, it becomes compatible with wallets, exchanges, and other contracts. Without ERC20, every token would have different function names. Token A might use transfer, token B might use send, token C might use move. Wallets couldn't display balances generically. Exchanges couldn't integrate tokens without custom code for each one. With ERC20, every token uses the same interface. Wallets work with all compliant tokens, exchanges integrate once, support thousands of tokens, an entire ecosystem emerges. One standard, thousands of tokens, seamless interoperability. This is what standards do. They transform chaos into an ecosystem. Let's make this concrete. Imagine three tokens with no standard. Token A implements transfer and check balance. Token B implements send and get balance. Token C implements move and balance of. Now a wallet developer wants to display token balances. What do? They have to write custom code for each token. If there are thousands of tokens, they need to write thousands of different integrations. This doesn't scale. Wallets can't support new tokens easily. Now imagine all three tokens follow the ERC20. Token A has transfer and balance of. Token B has transfer and balance of. And token C also has transfer and balance of. A wallet developer writes one integration. It works with all three tokens, and with 1,000 more tokens that also follow the ERC20 standard. Perfect interoperability. This is the magic of standards. Not just compatibility, it's ecosystem level transformation. With ERC20, DeFi became possible. Without it, isolated tokens with no way to compose. There are many ERC standards, but let me introduce you to the three most important. First, we have the ERC20 standard. ERC20 defines how fungible tokens work. Fungible means one unit is identical to another. Like dollars or rands, one rand is equal to another rand. They are interchangeable. ERC20 powers governance tokens, reward tokens, and utility tokens. It's the most common token standard on Ethereum. ERC 721 defines how non-fungible tokens work. Non-fungible means each token is unique, like a house deed. Your house deed is different from mine. They are not interchangeable. ERC 721 powers digital art, collectibles, gaming items, and domain names. Each token has a unique ID and unique properties. Then we have ERC 1155. It is a newer, more flexible standard. It allows a single contract to manage both fungible and non-fungible tokens. ERC20, launched in 2015, is the foundation of modern DeFi. ERC 721, launched in 2018. It enabled NFTs and digital art. ERC 1155 is newer and more advanced. For now, focus on ERC20 and ERC 721. Every ERC20 token must implement 6 core functions. We have read functions, and these functions read state without modifying anything. They're free to call off-chain. These functions include total supply, which returns the total supply of the token in existence, balance of, which returns how many tokens an account holder holds, and allowance, which returns how many tokens a spender is allowed to spend on behalf of an owner. Then we have write functions. These functions modify state and cost gas. These functions include transfer, which transfers tokens from the caller to another address, approve, which gives permission to a spender to spend tokens on your behalf, and transfer from. This transfers tokens from one address to another, but only if the caller is approved to spend that amount of tokens. These 6 functions are the entire ERC20 interface. A token is ERC20 compliant if it implements all 6 with the correct behavior. Why these functions though? Total supply, balance of, and allowance let the world see the token state. Transfer is basic token movement. And approve plus transfer from is safe delegated transfers. Together, they enable all use cases, wallets, DEXs, lending protocols, and governance. These 6 functions are the foundation of ERC20 compliance. Standards don't just define functions, they define events too. Every ERC20 must emit 2 events. The first one is transfer. It is emitted whenever tokens are transferred. It records who sent the tokens, who received the tokens, and how many tokens were transferred. This signals to off-chain systems new tokens were created. The next event is approval. It is emitted whenever the approve function is called. It records who owns the tokens, who is approved to spend them, and how much they're approved to spend. Now we come to one of the most important concepts in ERC20, allowance. This is where beginners often get confused. Let me make it crystal clear. Imagine you have a bank account with 1000 Rand in it. You want to give your friend permission to spend 50 Rand on your behalf. Maybe they're buying groceries for you. You go to the bank and say, this person is approved to spend 50 Rand from my account. The bank records this permission, and your friend isn't holding your money, they're just authorized to spend it. Later, your friend goes to the grocery store and says, charge this to my friend's account. The store checks with the bank, is this person authorized? The bank checks, and yes, they're authorized for 50 Rand. The store charges the account, your friend's allowance decreases from 50 Rand to 30 Rand. In Solidity, the process is identical. Approve is like I authorize the spender to use this amount of my tokens, and transfer from is the spender using that authorization. Why 2 steps, you might ask? Why not just send the tokens directly with transfer? The answer is safety and control. With transfer, you give the spender actual possession of your tokens. They own them. With approve and transfer from, the spender never controls your tokens. They can only move specific amounts you've approved. You retain ownership the entire time. Now let's implement a minimal but fully functional ERC20 token. Notice the pattern in transfer. First we check balances, then we update balances, then we emit the event. This is the CEI pattern from Module 6. Notice in transfer from, we check the balance of the person who's sending, we check the allowance of the spender, and then we decrease the allowance to prevent double spending. We update balances, and then we emit the event. When someone uses transfer from, the allowance should decrease. If owner approves the spender for 100 tokens and the spender spends 30, the allowance should be decreased to 70. If we didn't decrease it, the spender could spend 100 again immediately. Both transfer and transfer from emit the same event, transfer. This is critical. Off-chain systems rely on these events to track transfers. Now let's compare ERC20 and ERC721. They're fundamentally different. ERC20 represents fungible tokens, tokens that are identical and interchangeable. Like rands, one rand is worth the same as another. Its key characteristics are balance of, which returns an amount. How many tokens does this address own? Transfers are simple. Specify an amount to move. And approve spending a specific amount. Its use cases are governance tokens for voting, reward tokens, and utility tokens. ERC 721 is a non-fungible token standard. It's unique tokens that cannot be interchanged. Its key characteristics are an owner of function that returns the owner of a specific token ID, a balance of function that returns a count. How many tokens does this address own? Transfers specify a token ID. Which exact token are you moving? Each token has a token URI, metadata describing the token, its name, its image, etc. Its use cases are digital art and collectibles, gaming items, domain names, and in-game assets. The fundamental difference: in ERC20, I own 100 tokens. This is fungible. In ERC 721, I own token number 12345, which is a unique artwork. It's not fungible. Why both? Well, some assets, like tokens and currency, are identical. Some are unique, like art and collectibles. Different standards for different use cases. ERC20 powers DeFi, whereas ERC 721 powers NFTs. Understanding this distinction is crucial. Different problems need different standards. Let's explore ERC 721 for NFTs. ERC20 tracks balances in a mapping. How much tokens does each address own? ERC 721 tracks ownership. Who owns token number 1234? Its key functions are an owner of function that returns an address. Who owns the specific token ID? There's a safe transfer from function that safely transfers a specific token from one address to another. There's an approve function that approves an address to transfer a specific token. Notice approval is per token, not per amount, like in ERC20. We also have a token URI function that returns the metadata URL for the token. Usually it just points to a JSON file describing the NFT, image, name, description, etc. Then we have a balance of function. This returns how many NFTs an address owns. This is a count, not an amount. Each token has a unique ID. Token 1 is different from token 2. When you mint an NFT, you create a new unique token with a new ID. Each call to mint creates a new token with a new ID. NFTs don't store images on-chain. This would be too expensive. Instead, they just store a URL. Wallets and explorers fetch this metadata and display the image and details. Here is a minimal but fully functional ERC 721 NFT contract. We have an owner of mapping that maps an ID to an owner. Next token ID tracks which ID should be assigned to the next NFT. Each mint gets a new unique ID and increments the counter. The mint function gets the next available ID, increments the counter, and sets the caller as the owner, then emits a transfer event. Each token has a unique ID. No two tokens can have the same ID. This is what makes NFTs non-fungible. In closing, this simple contract demonstrates the core principle of NFTs, unique token IDs with individual ownership. Now we have the ERC 1155 multiple token standard. This is a major standard as it combines ERC20 and ERC 721 features. A single ERC 1155 contract can manage fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens at the same time. It can also implement semi-fungible tokens, which are partially unique, all in one contract. Imagine a warehouse inventory system. Some items are fungible, commodity materials, and so on. One unit is identical to the other. Some items are non-fungible, unique machinery or equipment. A single warehouse system tracks both. As Ethereum matures, standards become more sophisticated and handle complex use cases. Now let's talk about interfaces in Solidity. This is crucial for understanding how standards enable interoperability. Interfaces are the technical mechanism that enables standards to work. A DEX contract can be written to accept an ERC20 token with an interface and then be able to swap any token that implements this interface. The DEX doesn't care what it's swapping, as long as the interface is compliant, it will work. When you deploy a token, you announce, "My contract implements ERC20." Then all wallets immediately understand it. DEXs immediately can trade it, and exchanges immediately can list it. Users immediately know how to interact with it. All this because you follow the standard interface. Interfaces are the technical mechanism that enable standards to work. Now let's zoom out and see the big picture. Imagine a world with no ERC standards. Every token creator invents their own interface. A wallet developer wants to support these tokens. What do? They have to write custom code for every single token. If there are thousands of tokens, they need thousands of implementations, and this is impossible. The result, wallets can't support tokens generically. Each token is an island. With the ERC20 standard, all tokens follow the same interface. A wallet developer writes one integration using an ERC20 interface, and it works with 1 token, 10 tokens, 1,000 tokens, and 10,000 tokens. Every new token automatically works with every wallet, every exchange, and every protocol. Suddenly, an ecosystem emerges. DEXs like Uniswap are built on the assumption that every token is ERC20 compliant. They don't hardcode support for specific tokens. They write generic code that works with any ERC20. Then, when a new token launches, Uniswap automatically works with it. Aave automatically works with it. MetaMask automatically shows it, and users immediately can trade it. No integration needed, just follow the standard. There are thousands of ERC20 tokens on Ethereum. They all work with the same interface. One standard, thousands of tokens, seamless ecosystem. Standards don't just enable technical interoperability, they create entire ecosystems. One standard literally changed the world. There are a few mistakes that beginners make when implementing ERC20. The first one is not decreasing allowance. If you don't decrease allowance after transferring, the spender can spend the same amount again. The next one is not emitting an approval event. Off-chain systems will miss the approval and wallets can't show allowance history. Then, not emitting the transfer event. Wallets can't track transfers and your history will become invisible. Then, transferring to the zero address. If your to destination is the zero address, tokens are effectively burned, but without proper event emission. If your token has custom logic beyond standard transfers, ensure to follow the CEI pattern to prevent re-entrancy. If a user changes allowance from 100 to 200, an attacker could spend 100 before the change finalizes. The mitigation is to use modern patterns like increase allowance and decrease allowance on every spend. These mistakes are common because they're subtle. Be aware and test thoroughly. Now you've learned the fundamentals of ERC standards. ERCs are standard interfaces like USB for Ethereum. ERC20 defines fungible tokens, identical and interchangeable. ERC 721 defines non-fungible tokens, unique like deeds. ERC 1155 combines them both in one contract. Allowance is a two-step mechanism for approval and then transfer from. Events are required for off-chain indexing and wallet support. Interfaces enable composability. One contract works with any compliant token. Without standards, each token has a different interface. Wallets can't support tokens generically, and there's no ecosystem. With standards, every token follows the same interface, wallets support all compliant tokens, and protocols compose effortlessly. Entire ecosystems emerge. ERC20 enabled DeFi. Thousands of tokens, millions of users, billions of value. ERC 721 enabled NFTs, digital art and collectibles, and a new form of ownership. One standard, entire ecosystem, unlimited scale. Standards transform isolated contracts into composable ecosystem. Without ERC20, no DeFi. Without ERC721, no NFTs. Without standards, no Ethereum as we know it. This is the power of agreed upon interfaces. When developers cooperate around standards, network effects compound. Each new token strengthens the entire ecosystem. Each new protocol increases the value of all tokens. Exponential growth enabled by simple agreements about function signatures. Now you understand how tokens work and why standards matter. In the final module, we'll synthesize everything into a capstone project. Standards might seem like a technical detail, but they're not. They're the foundation of everything Ethereum has become. Respect them, follow them, and build on them. Great work completing Module 7. Now you're a standards-aware developer. See you in the next one.